Darjil Learning Hub welcomes you all. I have kept some laddu here. Why I have kept laddu here? It's a basic thing one can think it of. And also the bundi here. Since I am going to explain a new topic, binding energy, which will be related somewhat to this case, I have kept it here. So in this episode, we are going to study about the binding energy of the nucleus. What is meant by binding energy of the nucleus? Say that example, you think of that example, bundi, where the sweet particles are separated in the plate. We call it to be bundi. When you take that bundi and compress it in your hand and kept it where for some times, it will become a laddu. So the same thing had been converted into another object. Similarly, here in our case, let us imagine inside the nucleus you are having large number of nucleons, say protons and neutrons, like the bundi. And you are taking it and compressing it. When you are compressing it, it becomes the nucleus. Now what happens to the mass? When you weigh the mass of the nucleons separately, that will be one mass. And when it becomes a nucleus, now weigh the nucleus, the mass will be something different. There will be a discrepancy between the two masses. There will be a loss in mass. And that loss in mass is converted into energy, and that energy you call it to be the binding energy. Therefore, this is the basic understanding about the binding energy. And therefore now we can define what is meant by the binding energy. If you wanted to break the laddu, we can once again give certain pressure in your fingers. Slightly you can press it, that will be separated into bundi once again. You can also give a very high and very heavy pressure also in your finger. Then also it can be separated. But what is the minimum energy needed to break it into constituent particles? That minimum energy given to the laddu to separate into individual one is similar to that of the nucleus case also. In the case of the nucleus, you have large number of nucleons inside it. You can give a very heavy energy also to break it into constituent one. And also you can also give a minimum energy also. Therefore the minimum energy required to separate the atomic nucleons into its constituents protons and neutrons is called the binding energy. Or in other words, we can say the energy required to combine the individual protons and neutrons into a single nucleus is also called the binding energy. Vice versa, I am telling. The energy required to form a nucleus by combining all the nucleons is also called the binding energy, or the minimum energy required to separate an atomic nucleus into its constituent protons and neutrons is called the binding energy. The binding energy is always positive number, since all nuclei require net energy to separate them into protons and neutrons. Hope that you would have understood, you will get some basic idea about the binding energy. The magnitude of the binding energy determines its stability against disintegration. If the binding energy is large, then the atom or the nucleus will be more stable. If the binding energy has least energy equal to its binding energy, it is in the ground state. If the energy required is greater than E minimum, it is said to be in the excited state. So if E equal to 0, it corresponds to the dissociation of the nucleus into its constituent parts. Now let us take this. So what happens? Why and I have given a balance here. You take the nucleus together and you keep it here, and the nucleon separated here and you keep it in another pan, then the mass of the nucleons will be greater than the mass of the nucleus. One example I have given as for the helium nucleus. In the case of the helium nucleons, the total mass will be equal to 2.0174 Armstrong unit, atomic mass unit. But in the case of the nucleus here, it will be slightly less. Therefore, the total mass here will be slightly changing, and that mass will be converted into energy, and that energy is 28.29 mega electron volt. The same example had been given here. Let us consider a nuclide here which contains Z protons and N neutrons. Therefore, when it is combined to form a nucleus, some mass disappears, and that mass is delta M, and that mass will be converted into energy, and that energy is called the binding energy of the nucleus. The scientists have found out the binding energy per nucleon for all the elements present in the world, and they draw a graph. The graph is called the binding energy curve. This is a very important curve in the case of the nuclear physics. The binding energy per nucleon will be equal to total binding energy of the nucleus divided by total number of nucleons. The graph representing the binding energy per nucleon versus mass number is called the binding energy curve. Now, if you observe this curve, we have drawn the graph between the mass number as well as the binding energy per nucleon. If you observe the graph, the binding energy per nucleon increases very steeply, and it reaches a maximum value of 8.879 mega electron volt at A equal to 56. So at A equal to 56, it reaches the maximum value of 8.79 mega electron volt, and it drops to 7.6 mega electron volt at the highest number, about 200, and it has 3 sharp peaks at low A that corresponds to even nuclei. And why the graph is like this? These are the observations that we make. And what are the reasons for this? Why there is a peak here, and why there is a decrease in the binding energy, and at low numbers also the binding energy is very low. What happens? Why? What is the reason? All these things we can study it here. The rapid increase demonstrates the saturation effect of the nuclear force. What is the nature of the nuclear force that binds the nucleons together? What are the characteristics, or what are the nature of the nuclear force could be explained by this one. That is, the nucleons are interacting only with its nearest neighbors. That's why it has the saturation effect. And why there will be a sharp peak for even nuclei? That means the even nuclei such as helium, carbon and oxygen are tightly bound. The peak at A equal to 56 represents that most abundant nature of the nucleus. Iron is the most abundant in nature and also more stable in the world because its binding energy is very high. If we wanted to remove one nucleon from the iron nucleus, it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult to remove one proton or a neutron from out of the nucleus of iron nucleus. And that's why more energy is needed to break the heavier elements. Now if we come over here at very heavy elements, if the heavier element is split up and it will come down to the lower energy level here. When it is breaking, the difference between the two will be emitted, and that is what we call it to be the nuclear fission. If you take uranium, which will be around this place, around 200, above 200, if we break uranium, it will comes to barium and krypton, which will be in the central state, around 35 and 56 and so on, around this ion, barium and krypton. Therefore, the difference between the two, this is 8.7 mega electron volt, here around 7.9 mega electron volt, the difference between the two will be emitted as nuclear fission energy. Similarly, if we come down to the lower mass numbers, here, say for example hydrogen, if you take two hydrogen and combine together, it will become a helium. Therefore, now here also enormous amount of energy is liberated. So this tells about, this lower portion tells about the nuclear fusion phenomena. So nuclear fusion is explained from the binding energy graph. Similarly, nuclear fission is also explained from the binding energy curve, and the nature of the nuclear force is explained, and the stability and the natural abundance of the material have also been explained by the binding energy curve. Now we are going to study about the packing fraction. It is the ratio between the mass defect and the mass number. It tells you about the measure of the comparative stability of the atom. Packing fraction can be positive, negative, or zero value. A zero value of packing fraction is found in monoisotopic elements where the isotopic mass is equal to the mass number. So this packing fraction will be equal to 0 for carbon, where the isotopic mass is equal to the mass number. It will be having a negative value, which indicates that there is a mass defect and hence binding energy. Such nuclei are very stable. For example, iron. Positive value of packing fraction are unstable, undergoing fission and fusion process. Now here the examples will be hydrogen and uranium, where the positive value of packing fraction and they undergoes fusion and fission, which I had already given here. The packing fraction curve is shown here. Helium has low negative value and stable. Carbon has zero value. Transition elements have negative value, and that's why they are very highly stable. The elements above A equal to 200 and below A equal to 2 have positive value, and that's why they are unstable. So the stability could be explained by this one. The value of N by P ratio determines the nuclear stability. That is, up to Z equal to 20, the number of protons and the number of neutrons are equal. Up to 20, the number of neutrons and the number of protons are equal. But for heavier nuclei, the number of neutrons are more than the number of protons after Z equal to 20. The curve slightly bends here. Instead of going as a straight line, if N by P ratio will be equal to 1, it should be along the dotted line. But for heavier elements, N by P ratio will not be equal to 1. N will be greater, therefore it bends like this. So this graph is the nuclear stability graph. For larger values of Z, the number of neutrons must be greater than the number of protons, so as to compensate the Coulombic repulsive force due to the protons. If the number of protons goes on increasing, there will be a repulsive force. Therefore, the atom will be unstable, or the nucleus will be unstable. If you wanted to have the stable nucleus, automatically the number of neutrons had increased, and that's why we have the stable nucleus for heavier atomic number. The stable nuclei lie within the shaded region, which is called the region or the zone of stability. A nucleus that lies outside the zone of stability will therefore be unstable. On both sides it will be unstable. The nuclei that lie above the zone of stability will be unstable, and that lie below the zone of stability will also be unstable. But in the case of the materials having in this region, you will have more number of neutrons than the protons. Nuclei are particularly stable and abundant when they have Z or N equal to 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82 and 126. They are called magic numbers. Why? They are mostly abundant and at the same time stable. There we can study these magic numbers in the shell model of the nucleus. A nucleus that possesses a higher N by P ratio would try to bring about reduction in the number of neutrons and increase in the number of protons. Similarly, a nucleus that possesses low N by P ratio would achieve stability by increase of neutrons or decrease of protons. All this process will be taking place by the conversion of one proton into a neutron or a neutron into a proton, so as to maintain the stability of the nucleus. So with these things I am coming to the conclusion. So my dear students, this will be very useful to you, and hope that you would have understood what is meant by binding energy and packing fraction. Thank you.
வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்ததுன்னா லைக் பண்ணுங்கள், ஷேர் பண்ணுங்கள், கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்கள். இதே மாதிரி இன்னும் நிறைய வீடியோஸ் பார்க்கணுன்னா மறக்காமல் டார்ஜில் லேர்னிங் ஹப்பை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்கள். அந்த பெல் ஐக்கானையும் ப்ரெஸ் பண்ணுங்கள்.